Our brains are amazing. They are responsible for everything, from coordinating all our movements, controlling our heartbeat, understanding the sensory world, solving problems, learning, and providing us with a sense of ourselves, our humour, interests, likes and dislikes. We need our brains, and we need them to be healthy so they can work optimally throughout our entire lifespan. In this journey towards optimal brain health, we need to start with a positive mind style, one of self-compassion and kindness. There is no scorecard to measure your lifestyle against, no pass or fail, so no self-recriminations are necessary. Think of yourself as a beginner or novice and the start of a new life course with opportunities for change ahead. If you catch yourself thinking things are good or bad, try and let go of all self-judgment and be open to options and feel empowered so that you can make the best decisions for yourself now and for tomorrow.
There we have Dr. Nicola Gates, who is my special guest this morning, reading from her book, A Brain for Life. Nicola, after a few stutters, we're finally talking to each other.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, it's so good. I wanted to find out a little bit about what you do. What does a neuropsychologist do?
The definition, I guess, from the Australian Psychological Society is that we understand brain and behaviour connections. So we investigate brain function, so intelligence and memory and so forth, and understand how that manifests in behaviour, emotion and so forth. And working with adults, I've been working with acquired brain injuries. So adults who've had very healthy, happy functioning brains, but then something's gone awry.
Excellent. And how did you get into this? When you started studying medicine, how did you move on, or did you come through the psychology degree?
No, I came through psychology and did the Masters of Clinical Neuropsychology, and then I did a PhD in neuropsychiatry.
Oh dear, makes the rest of us sound a little like underachievers, doesn't it?
Or I've got a problem.
No, never. So what inspired you to actually write a book rather than just work with people?
After my PhD, and actually throughout my PhD, I was writing quite a few papers and manuscripts for medical journals. So they've been published all around the world. And then I realised that the people who were reading my work were people who were researching and already knew what I had to say. And that's not actually why I did my PhD. I did my PhD to improve my clinical practice, but also to improve the lives of people. And so the only way I could talk to people was to write a book.
Excellent. I have to say, I have actually read it, and I found it very accessible. Being somebody who doesn't really know the difference between an aspirin and anything else that I'm given, I found the simplicity was excellent. That was deliberate on your part, was it?
Well, absolutely, because I've been working with people for so long. I've seen the importance of communicating in a way so that each individual can understand what you're saying. So sometimes I might try the same, presenting the same information 5 times until I see the light bulb go up. And in fact, that was one of the editor's comments, that they said I tended to repeat myself. And I said, but I'm actually saying it slightly different. And that's so that it can resonate with more people.
How did you find that whole editing process?
Well, because I write for academic papers and they go through peer review, you get 3 or 4 people commenting on your work already. So I'd already been hardened up to that process of criticism. And in fact, I always am thankful for the opportunity to improve my work. So I just thought it was adding to my own learning experience.
You didn't find you had those moments of, oh, no, you can't possibly leave that up. That's my favourite sentence.
No, luckily I think they agreed with my favourite sentences. There were a few things that I said had to stay that they perhaps thought were less important, but given the statistics that I supported for things to remain in the book, they accepted the clinical argument trumped editorial concerns.
That's excellent, really good. One of our people here in the office asked me to ask you a specific question. Do you think there are enough resources out there to reduce the risk of what they called the 4Ds: depression, disease, dementia, and disability. What do you think?
I guess the short answer is no. However, and which is very exciting, I think it's changing. So in fact, next week I'm going to the ComCare conference in Canberra, and it's very exciting to see that more and more people are wondering what we need to do. And I think there are some very strong economic reasons for that. Mm-hmm. We need to have a healthy workforce. So the idea of prevention is actually now starting to have some cachet. We're also losing a significant part of our workforce, which is another reason to look after people. So certainly in some sectors it's changing. Lots of studies show that you get more bang for buck working at prevention than you do at the other end after a condition's already presented. And I think finally government structures and community services are starting to see that as well.
You mentioned that you've been working with people for 20 years. Was there any particular person that you had, or is there a particular patient that you thought, I'm going to tell your story because it's important others should know it?
No one particular individual, but I've met so many incredible people in my journey as a clinician and absolutely thank them for improving my own knowledge and clinical skills. But I guess there are some common stories or common threads. I went into health to improve people's lives, and I always feel I've got the short straw when I'm the one who has to say, hang about, if you'd perhaps made these different decisions for yourself earlier on, we wouldn't be having this conversation about diagnosis and dementia or something now. So really that was a significant inspiration for me.
Excellent. Your dedication in your book, I think is lovely. I dedicate this book to my mother so she may continue to bloom, and to my 2 children who fill my life with joy so they always thrive. What did you mean?
Well, my mother is quite amazing, and considering both her parents, so my grandparents, both her parents have dementia. I guess it's my wish for her to have good health, or continue to have good health, because she's actually still working and she's 75. And for my 2 children who, I'm completely besotted and in love, and they tell me I'm biased, but for my 2 children who are teenagers, they're getting to the age now where they are going to launch themselves and fly from the nest. And so they are exceedingly healthy and happy and optimistic and content and confident within themselves. And I hope that may remain as they enter the wider world.
Oh dear, I thought it was lovely before, but hearing you say it, and I shouldn't say this, but there are little tears in the eye too, which I think is so lovely. Are you okay?
Absolutely, but I am a very sentimental person.
Oh, I think that's beautiful. I like sentimental people. So, when you're not being a neuropsychologist or psychiatrist, raising 2 teenage kids and obviously having a wonderful relationship with mum, what else do you like to do?
Well, I always say my children are my passion, so I kind of hang around because they don't mind hanging around. I like, gardening, reading, and before you can be a writer, you've got to be an avid reader, I think. So, reading,
joy
writing.
To my ears.
And, I'm quite content just to sit and daydream as well. So cooking, being with friends, and being out in nature.
When you say you read, have you a particular author that you always think, oh, I know I'll get a good read, let's go and pick that up?
Well, absolutely. There are authors I wait from book to book.
Yes.
For example, like Margaret Atwood.
Yes.
And I'm reading Annie Proulx's latest book.
Yes.
So I've been waiting for that. But also, if you read my book, I like learning and being curious. So one of the things I do is I actually try and read the shortlist for the Pulitzer and so forth, because it pushes me out. And I read books that I might not otherwise read. So it means I take on a broader range of genres and styles. And sometimes, because I'm doing so much academic reading, they may be the only books I read, which probably isn't good enough. But
no, but I think I have a friend actually who is a lawyer, and she always says, I do so much reading at work. There's no way I want to read when I get home.
I can understand that, but I love a good book.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, she's very careful to make sure that message doesn't get through to her children. So, would I be right in saying that your mother is one of your inspirations?
Absolutely, and I come from a matriarchy anyway, so I think I've had some wonderful women around me.
Yes. Tell us.
Well, my grandmother, I guess she had a very traditional role, but she used to always spoil us. So I'm Canadian by birth, and there's Richard Scarry. It's a collection of books, and so my grandmother was always inventive, and she'd never serve vegetable soup. It had to be robber soup, which is one of the books. And my grandfather had a chocolate tree, and it took me a long time to realise that Cadbury chocolate bars actually didn't grow in trees. So I had wonderful time with my grandparents, and in particular my grandmother, who was always baking and we actually had to put white gloves on to look at their books, but that reinforced the importance of books, and it was such a treasure to go. It was almost a ritual to go to her house, and we used to go there a lot. And my mum, I watched her return to tertiary studies and complete postgraduate degree, and then have a very good career, and I think that was a really important message. And it's interesting how things transfer through generations. And I remember my daughter was about 9, and I was dropping her off to school on my way to work. And she said, "Mummy, what do all those women do who aren't working?" Observing them in their gym gear and so forth. And I went through the imagined possibilities of their day. And my daughter just looked at me and she goes, "Oh, Mummy, that would be so boring. I'm so pleased you work." And now, of course, she's planning her own career.
Beautiful. I think that's a lovely way for us to end this. Nicola, thank you so much. It's been lovely to spend a little bit of time with you. And when are you bringing out another book?
Luckily, I've anticipated that question. So I was asked it a week ago, and I've absolutely got my second book framed up in mind. So
well, when you do, I'd love to speak to you again.
Thank you.
Nicola Gates, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll be back with you again with another guest on Books at 60. Thanks for joining us.